Okay, let's dive in. If you've spent any time at all in Web3, you know it can feel a bit like navigating a maze.
Absolutely. Different chains, different wallets, bridging assets back and forth.
Exactly. And always worrying about having the right gas token on the right network, it's complex.
It's frustrating, yeah. And honestly, it's a huge barrier for regular users, definitely, but also for developers trying to build stuff.
Right. So today we're unpacking a project called Gravity. They seem to be aiming squarely at fixing this kind of friction.
Mm-hmm.
We're taking a close look at the introduction section from their own documentation. Just that part for now.
Okay.
The idea is to figure out, what is Gravity? What's this big vision they have for mass adoption and an omnichain future?
That term comes up a lot.
It does.
Mhm.
And what key tech are they using? What specific problems are they trying to solve for you, the user, and for devs? And importantly, how are they planning to roll this out?
So just sticking to what's in that intro text.
Strictly to the source material you provided. Our mission here is just to get you quickly up to speed on Gravity, based on their own words. Ready to explore this?
Yeah, let's do it. What's really striking right from the get-go is how clearly they pinpoint that core problem, the sheer complexity of the multi-chain world we have now.
Mm,
The docs position Gravity as, yes, a layer 1 blockchain, but its core design, its real purpose, is described as an omni-chain settlement layer.
Omnichain settlement layer. Okay.
And their stated goal, explicitly, is enabling mass adoption. They plan to do this through something they call full-chain abstraction.
Full chain abstraction. What does that actually mean in practice?
Well, think of it like making the underlying blockchain plumbing, all the different chains, just disappear for the user.
Okay.
The aim is a totally seamless experience. You don't need to worry or even know which specific chain you're interacting with or all the technical steps happening under the hood.
So it's not just another chain then. It's designed specifically to kind of sit across or underneath the others to connect them.
Sort of, yeah. It's engineered to be the backbone across chains. The document explains that for applications that need high throughput, high reliability,
Right.
Gravity provides that critical layer. It's where user intents across any chain can be processed and finally settled.
User intents.
Yeah,
So what I want to do, not the specific steps on chain A, then chain B.
exactly. Like you just want to swap asset X for asset Y or use a service. You state the intent, not the chain-by-chain instructions.
Okay.
The source gives this interesting example, smart savings. It suggests this framework lets you shift transactions, maybe even mission-critical ones that usually live on private, centralized servers, onto Gravity itself. Basically using Gravity as an open, transparent, code-is-law database, leveraging that blockchain immutability for important stuff.
That does sound like a pretty significant shift, using a public chain for that kind of back-end settlement logic. And if the goal really is mass adoption, well, you need users, lots of them.
Yeah.
Does the intro mention how they plan to get people using this?
Yes, and this is a really potentially impactful point they make. It says Gravity is designed to launch integrated directly into the Galaxy ecosystem.
Galx, the Quest and loyalty platform.
That's the one, leveraging their existing products like Quest, Compass, Passport, and the numbers they estimate are striking.
Oh,
This immediate integration, they figure, could bring over 60 million transactions per month onto Gravity right away.
60 million a month from launch.
Yeah, which, as the documentation points out, is apparently double the volume Ethereum sees just based on user activity alone.
Wow. Okay, that's significant scale built in.
Definitely. It means projects building on Gravity potentially get immediate access to this massive active user base.
The kind of day one scale is certainly noteworthy. Okay, so let's look at the key features they list. The tech bits that make this Omnichain settlement layer and full chain abstraction actually possible. What do they highlight?
Right, the nuts and bolts. The document lists several things that work together. First, obviously cross-chain transactions. That's fundamental. Secure movement, interaction across different blockchains.
Makes sense.
But crucially, they emphasize efficient verification. And this is where they bring up zero-knowledge proofs, or ZKPs.
Okay, ZKPs, we hear a lot about those. How do they fit in here?
Well, in simple terms, ZKPs let the chain verify transactions or states really concisely and cheaply, which is pretty essential if you're trying to handle a huge volume of cross-chain activity without the costs just exploding.
Right, efficiency across potentially many chains.
Yeah.
Okay, what else is key?
They also highlight enhanced user experience, and this gets into some specific tech choices.
Like what?
The document mentions using certain cryptographic tools like the SecP 2 of 6R1 curve via pre-compiled contract.
Okay, that's getting technical. What's the user benefit?
Well, the result is it lets them implement things like really cost-effective passkey authentication for account abstraction wallets.
Passkeys, like logging into websites now.
Pretty much. So for you, the user, it could mean logging into and using your Web3 wallet almost as easily as logging into a regular website with a passkey.
That would be huge. No more worrying quite so much about seed phrases.
That seems to be the goal, a massive reduction in that kind of user friction.
Definitely needed. What about performance? A settlement layer needs to be fast, right?
Absolutely. They mention high-performance execution. They're integrating what they describe as the fastest execution layer available, Reth.
Reth. That's the Rust-based Ethereum client, isn't it? Known for being quick.
Exactly. And they combine that with a consensus algorithm called Jolteon, which they describe as state-of-the-art.
Okay.
So that combination, Reth plus Jolteon, is meant to deliver really high throughput and near-instant finality, which, as you said, is crucial for a settlement layer handling potentially critical transactions.
Speed and ease of use, clear priorities. What about security? It's a new layer 1.
Yeah, good question. They address security through a secure and robust PS mechanism. Proof of stake.
Standard enough. Anything special?
Well, they use native staking of their own G token, but they also integrate with restaking protocols. They mention Babylon and Eigenlayer specifically.
Leveraging shared security from elsewhere.
Exactly. It's a unified approach, trying to combine the economic security of other major ecosystems alongside their own staking to secure the Gravity chain.
Okay. And what about developers? People already building in Web3. Is it easy for them to jump onto Gravity?
Seems like they've thought about that. They've ensured EVM compatibility.
So Ethereum Virtual Machine compatible.
Right. Which means developers can deploy their existing smart contracts, use the tools and languages they already know, like Solidity. It lowers the barrier to entry for building on Gravity quite a bit.
That makes sense. Okay, so we have the underlying tech, ZKPs, Reth, passkeys, EVM compatibility, and the planned scale via Galks. How does this actually translate into specific things users might see, tangible use cases that show off this full chain abstraction?
Yeah, the introduction gives a few concrete examples. One is balance abstraction with yield.
Balance abstraction.
Yeah, the problem now is you need to know exactly where your assets are, right? Which chain has what?
Constantly checking different wallets, different explorers.
Exactly. Gravity aims to consolidate that view. Manage your assets across chains, settle the cross-chain movements and verification on Gravity itself, but present just one unified experience to you.
So I just see my total balance, maybe earning yield,
Yeah.
and I don't have to worry which chain fragment is where.
That's the idea. You interact with your total balance.
That's interesting. What else?
Intent-based transactions, we touched on this. Simplifying complex cross-chain stuff.
Right. The what, not the how.
Precisely. Instead of you manually finding a bridge, getting gas on the destination chain, doing multiple transaction steps.
Which can be nerve-wracking.
Totally. You just state your intent, like, I want to swap my USDC on Polygon for some ETH on Arbitrum.
And Gravity handles it.
Gravity, acting as that settlement layer, handles the whole multi-step process. Securely, efficiently, all behind the scenes.
That would be a massive leap in user experience. Just state the goal and let the system figure out the complicated how.
Exactly. Then there's gas abstraction.
The pain of gas tokens.
Right. By supporting smart contract wallets, Gravity can enable things like transaction batching and gas sponsorships.
Yeah.
Meaning you, the user, wouldn't necessarily need to hold the specific native token like Matic on Polygon, ETH on Arbitrum, etc., for every single chain involved in some Omnichain action just to pay the gas fees.
Oh, that would remove a huge friction point.
A really significant one, yeah. Especially when you're interacting across multiple networks.
Okay, that's compelling. Any other examples?
One more they highlight is Omnichain loyalty points.
Loyalty points, like frequent flyer miles, but on-chain.
Kinda, yeah. They mention migrating Galt's Quest's existing loyalty point system onto Gravity itself.
Moving a huge existing system on-chain.
Exactly. Making those points natively on-chain, giving them features like access control, snapshotting, maybe even trading capabilities. They see this as a foundation for fully on-chain loyalty programs, Quest marketplaces. It demonstrates how even non-financial things like points can become Omnichain assets managed through Gravity.
Shifting something like loyalty points, which millions of people understand, onto a blockchain seems like a really practical way to demo Omnichain capabilities to a big audience.
I think so too. It makes the concept less abstract.
So when can we actually expect to see this rolling out? What does the documentation say about timelines?
The intro lays out a two-phase plan. First is the Gravity Alpha Mainnet. That's actually set to launch in June 2024, so very soon.
Okay, Alpha Mainnet this summer. What is that exactly?
This initial phase will operate as an Ethereum rollup. It leverages the Arbitrum Nitro stack, actually.
So starting as a rollup on Ethereum.
Yeah. They present it as a way to test and prove the cross-chain settlement capabilities in a real, transparent environment first.
Makes sense. And then the full version.
The full Gravity Mainnet, which is the restaking-powered proof-of-stake Layer 1 running on Reth that we talked about that's planned for Q2 of 2025.
Okay, so Alpha rollup this year, full Layer 1 targeting Q2 next year. A phased approach to building out this infrastructure.
Seems methodical. And they actually use a pretty powerful analogy in the intro to sum up the whole vision.
Oh, yeah.
They say, just like the universe needs, well, gravity to exist and bring order, they see gravity, the project, as that fundamental layer, the cosmic glue, they call it.
Cosmic glue. I like that.
Yeah, the thing that will unify the Web3 ecosystem, let it grow and thrive by removing all that friction between separate chains.
Cosmic glue.
Yeah.
That does tie the ambition together quite nicely. Okay, so let's quickly recap the core takeaways then, just based on this introduction document we've been discussing.
Sounds good.
Gravity is pitching itself as an omnichain settlement layer. The big goal is mass adoption, achieved through this idea of full chain abstraction.
Right, hiding the complexity.
It's built on key tech like ZKPs for efficient verification across chains, uses things like Reth and Jolteon for high performance, and integrates features aimed at better UX, like passkey authentication, using specific cryptography, the SEC256R1 curve they mentioned.
Yep, that SEC256R1 point was for the passkeys.
It anticipates getting significant scale right at launch through that direct integration with Galaxy.
That's 60 million transactions per month figure.
Yeah, and it shows its approach through use cases like balance abstraction, intent-based transactions, gas abstraction, getting rid of gas token pain, and even omnichain loyalty points.
Those practical examples.
And the rollout is phased. Alpha Mainnet as an Arbitrum rollup in June 2024. Then the full restaked POS L1 Mainnet targeted for Q2 2025.
That covers it.
And the big vision, to be the essential cosmic glue for Web3.
That's the summary from the intro, yeah.
Okay, so here's something for you, the listener, to think about as you mull this over. If we really do get to a true omnichain future, where the complexity of all the different blockchains underneath is completely hidden, where you don't even know or frankly care which chain your asset or app is technically running on, how might that fundamentally change the way you interact with digital assets, with the decentralized web? What kinds of new applications or services become possible when you remove all that chain-specific friction?
It's a big question.
It is. And maybe just as interesting, what new challenges or questions might pop up when we interact mainly at that higher level, the level of intent or abstracted balance? And specifically, thinking back to that point in the source, how do you feel about potentially shifting mission-critical transactions onto an open, public, code is law database like Gravity aims to be?
It definitely makes you think about how decentralized systems might evolve architecturally.
It does. Now, if you want to explore Gravity further based on what we discussed from their intro, the document points you to their website, gravity.xyz.
And they also recommend following them on X. The handle is @GravityChain for updates.
Right, so gravity.xyz and @GravityChain on X.
And that, I think, wraps up our deep dive into the Gravity introduction document.